What's going on, everybody? Zane here, back with another video. For this one, I'm going to be doing something that some of you have requested, which is a super basic tutorial for getting C++ up and running, and then as well as getting some of the basic functions established and being able to do things like printing out, taking input, what some of the basic functions are, and some of those things. I'm going to keep this very short because I think a lot of these videos that are out there right now are super packed with different types of information, and I think it's better to have them in chunks, small chunks of concise data so that you can easily digest and then process and then go on to your next meal. Anyway, what I want to get started with first is explaining how we get a C++ program up and running. So assuming that you already have some sort of IDE or compiler or some sort of C++ output program, whether it be Sublime or Vim or VS Code or just regular Visual Studio, whatever the case is, I'm going to be going with the VS Code for now, and we can dive into other things if you guys have any potential requests. But anyway, let's get started. So we always want to first include any of our libraries that we know we're going to be using. If you're just starting out, you're most likely not going to need many libraries because we only need one for now, which would be the IO stream library, which is the input output stream library. To do that, we always do include, because we always want to include our libraries, and we'll be doing the opening or the less than equal sign, or the less than sign, and then we start up the actual library, and then we close it off. And that's it for including. And then our main program will always be run in our main function here. So we start off with the type that it will return, which will be either a 0 or a not 0, which is why it's always int main. And you can really call this whatever you want, but main is just the best practice. In these brackets, we don't actually pass in anything because it's the main function we are doing. And then you open up these brackets to begin your program. If you want to output something, let's actually start with some comments because I'm going to comment out as we go. So when you're commenting something that's single line, you just use the double / and then you'll see that the color is different. And this is a single line comment. If you wanted to do a multi-line, what you can do is, let's say you have, this is a test, this is another test. Now, if you wanted to comment out this entire thing, you could technically just do the dash or the //, but it's not the best way. So if you just indent a bit or put another space, put in a / and then a star, and then at the end you put a star and then a /, and that will block out this entire code as a comment. This is just useful so you don't have to do the double / every single time. Anyway, now that that's out the way, I'm going to start using comments to notate what we're doing so that we can follow along together. So very first thing after we have had all this completed, I want to show you how to print stuff. Now the classic thing is hello world, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else, but it is the same concept of cout and cin. So this is what I mean by cout, and then this is cin. Cout means console out, cin is console in. So for cout, we're basically printing out to the console. In order to use cout, we'll need to actually first declare or use the variable or library that it's associated with, and that would be the standard library. So std, and then we do the : and then cout. So we need to do std because it's part of the namespace std, as you see right there. This is included when we use the IO stream inclusion. Once we have std with the : now we can do the less than sign twice, and then you print out whatever you want, which would be in quotes, and I'm just going to type in meow. At every single line of code, apart from blocks such as if and for statements, you need to put the semicolon. This is very important. You need to put the semicolon, otherwise it will throw an error. So once we do this, all we would need to do is now run our program in VS Code. It's a little different than Sublime, for example. If you were to go into Sublime, and let me see if I can pull something up real quick. Alright, never mind. Oh, there we go, cool. Okay, if we were to go into Sublime, I just open up a new one. I'll do the include IO stream just like we did before. I'll do our main function, and I'll do cout, yeah, with the semicolon. And now, if I was to go into our tools, go to build system, and choose C++ single file, now all I need to do is hold control, and then hit B. This didn't work out because we have no such file because we didn't save anything. So if we were to go save this somewhere as garbage.cpp, then if we run this code, there we go. So this one is a little simpler because we're just using the build system here, which is just a control B. The only downfall with just outputting like this is that it doesn't necessarily allow you to interact with the console. It just outputs whatever information you have in your main function. So that's why I'm actually using VS Code, because if we go into VS Code, we could do the output, but a cooler way of doing it where you can actually interact with the console is actually using our compiler, which is the G++ compiler. And that will also output the information as well as allow you to interact with it. So this is very important when you're debugging, because if you're just outputting something but maybe you're asking for input, or maybe you have some sort of interactability with your program, then this will not work with just output. You need to compile it and then run the program. So what I mean by that is if we were to first locate our current problem.cpp file, you'll notice here that this one is actually a directory that the file is not in. So let's just do dir to see what files we have. And we seem to have all these things here, so that means I need to go into my documents folder because I know that's where the file is. So I'll just do cd documents. There's no error message, it just went straight to documents, so we're good. And I know that it's in my it's in my YouTube folder, so I'm going to do cd again and then go to YouTube. And now my problem is here, so now all I need to do is g++ space the file name with the extension, so current problem.cpp, and hit enter. Nothing else, no issues are found. So all I need to do now is run the actual program. When you do something like this, the main output is a.exe. That is just by default what it's named. So what we need to do is, since we just compiled and outputted some sort of executable file, we now need to run that file. So we can just do a.exe, hit enter, and we got meow. So that's a very basic thing on how to run the program. I think I covered this very briefly in another video, and I also have a video on how to get the compiler for G++ up and running. I can link that in the end of this video. So now that we have our standard cout, what if we want to take an input from a user? Well, there's the opposite of this, which is cin. So maybe we can do this. Let's go to our console or our code here, and let's ask the user, what do you want me to say? So this is the computer asking the user, what do you want me to say? So if we were to go back and actually compile this, I want to show you what's going on. So now we just changed that text, so that's what it's saying now, right? Now we want to take in something from the user, so we need to use the standard cin, and the difference here is cin instead of cout, and it'll be the two greater than symbols, not the less than ones up here. So this is very important. Cout is the less than, cin is the greater than. And then what we will have to do is take in some sort of variable for that piece of information. So what we can do then is we can actually label a string. So we'll do standard string, and we'll call this x. And now when we ask for the user for their input, we'll just put x here. And then what we can do is we'll do another cout. You wanted me to say, and then space x. And just so that we have a clear indication of what is being said without any issues, we can use the standard endline command, which is just putting a space, and then we can add one over here as well. I want at the bottom, and we can also use the \n to get a space as well. So let's see what this outputs. So this is saying, what do you want me to say? And now it's actually allowing us to type something in the terminal. So what I'll do is I'll just type in meow again, but let's do meow2. And we hit enter. You wanted me to say meow2. So essentially what we did here is we created a basic string variable. We didn't declare it anything. I called it x. Then we printed out to the console, what do you want me to say? We took the input and passed it to the string variable. And then we'll say, you wanted me to say x. And that's it. I put this in just for the space, but just for readability, I'll just take it out. Rerun the code. There. So that's how you do a standard cout, standard cin. And one thing I do want to mention is very quickly namespaces, and you'll notice that we are using standard ... a lot. So this can actually be eliminated by doing or using the namespace std. So this is very dangerous in a sense, because this will conflict with other namespaces that have similar variable names or similar method names. So for example, if for whatever reason someone had a namespace where one of their custom-made functions was also called string, and you were to do something just like this, then you're going to get a namespace error, because this is saying that string is available in std and the other person's namespace, which is why best practice as of right now would be to do the standard : just so that we explicitly state which namespace it's coming from. But for the purpose of showing you what this does, we added this, and now what we can do is take out the std from all of these. And now when we recompile our code, we get the same thing, but we don't have to constantly use the std. I hope that made sense. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. What we can also do is we can figure out some basic comparisons. So I'm gonna explain this and escape expressions, and then we'll finish this because I wanted to keep this as short as possible. But for our comparisons, we have the following here. It's only actually, before I even explain that, there's a difference between declaration and comparison. So this equals to, so let's say we said x equals 10, right? This is a declaration. However, if we said x is equal to 10, like that, to the double, that's a comparison. Declaration, wow, declaration, comparison. So drill that into your head, because this is very important when you're writing out your variable and you're assigning it something. So let's say we said int x equals 10, this will be okay. But we cannot do something like this, because this is comparing x to 10, but we haven't actually declared it. So the function or the program will return an error. Anyway, the only time that we actually use something like a comparison is if we're doing an if statement. So if we said if x is equal to y, that's when we use a double equals. So more comparisons. Let's do this. We've got the equals equals. We've got the does not equal. We've got the less than. Got the greater than. Got the less than or equal to. Got the greater than or equal to. So I'm just going to write this out here. Equals to. Does not equal to. less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, or. Okay, so now these are our comparison operators, and this is what you can use for whenever you're doing some sort of control flow like if statements or for loops or whatever the case is. So the last thing I want to mention here is we can use certain escape expressions, and we already just mentioned that before. An escape expression is something like this. This one in particular is for putting in an indent in a sense, or not an indent, it would be a break, like a spacing down as a new line. So what I mean by that is if we do standard cout to print out the, I'm going to remove this for best practice. If we do standard cout and we just typed in meow, right? And if we run this code here, let's compile first, run this, we have meow. Now what if we wanted to space a line down and add meow? Well, all we need to do is we need to add the \n right after the last word of the string, but not before the quotes. That's very important. You have to put it inside the quotes. And then when we rerun this, recompile and run, you'll see that there's an extra line below. This n and this end line are the same thing. So I'm going to write this here. So standard end line is equal to this. Both of these give you a space below. Anyway, so a few more of the escape expressions. I'm just going to paste them right here. These will be very helpful for when you are tackling some of your problems here. So we have the T for tab, B for backspace, V for vertical tab, and A for a little beep. So these could be useful when you're making your basic programs, and it'll give you some tools to kind of rearrange some of your text or your wording or whatever the case is. Anyway, I think I ran too much over time, but I hope this made sense. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for what content to make or any requests, you can let me know as well. Otherwise, hit that like and subscribe button, show me some love, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.